Excellent, folks. Isn't that nice? Just to go back to some of those hymns that touch us in some way. Again, sometimes the poetry is beautiful and it may or may not connect us in a certain way. Maybe the words aren't as current as we use today, but there's still so much power in some of that tradition, isn't there? And boy, you guys sound good today. So I made sure I put it in a nice high key so I could get some nice high notes over from the girl in purple. All right, so hi. I'm going to go over to my notes here. It's so great to be back. A lot of you know that I have just spent some time over in Europe. I was on a cruise with my best friend. We've been best friends since we were 12 years old. So whenever we see each other, we act like 12-year-old boys. So you don't want to be around us. It's not, but we had a great time, and we went over to Italy. We started off in Bologna and Ravenna, and then went over to Croatia and down the coast of Croatia and Montenegro and around the boot, around the toe between Italy and Sicily, which is Italy, but and then up around the Amalfi Coast and Sorrento, and I saw the ruins of Pompeii, which was fascinating. There's a lot of great food. So today's topic is in the eye of the beholder. So we've all heard this phrase, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? The thing that I noticed was how much, and that's why I chose the heritage hymn today, was for the beauty of the earth, right? I saw so much beauty. I saw things that I never even imagined before, and I saw, of course, a lot of history. Our history in the U.S. is, all of 250, 400 years old in this continent, but really there you see churches that were built, in Ravenna, Italy. There was a church that was like from 500 BC. Parts of it were, I'm not BC, sorry. That would be a little difficult, wouldn't it? A church from 500 BC. Well, actually, I did see temples from that old though too. So yeah. So beauty is the eye of the beholder. Now we say this about a person. A lot of times we say, well, you're maybe that person, or so, your mom will say, well, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because she doesn't like the person you're dating or something, We say that about different things, and we say that about homes or paint colors. Like I might like green on a wall, but you might be like, that's a really strange color for a wall. Or a car. I have a favorite color of a car, but my friend is like, oh, I don't like that color. So, we get the idea that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And another way we say that too is one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? I love to go thrifting. I love to go thrift stores. I love to go to antique stores. My house is full of tchotchkes. Bill, we just talked about that word, right? Tchotchkes, like junk, like stuff that's laying around, and I mean, it's not junk. It looks nice to me, but, people come to my house, they're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here, but again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? It's something that I may see and that another person may not see it that way. One of the things that came to me, though, is it's not just beauty in the eye of the beholder. It's also in the mind of, and the ears of. So on this cruise, and the thoughts of, on this cruise, I met this couple, and I'm going to change their names to protect the innocent. All right, so we're going to call them Dottie and Stu. All right, so I met Dottie and Stu, and they're from the UK. And that it's not an important part of the story. It doesn't matter where they're from. But Dottie and Stu were lovely. We had this, my friend Brian and I were sitting there, and they came over and they talked to us, and we had this lovely conversation. So we see them the next day. And Dottie says, there had been a concert earlier in the evening. She said, so what did you think of the cellist? Cello. Just like that. What did you think of the cellist? Okay, so that told me what she thought of the cellist, right? I mean, right there, just in the delivery. And so we had a little conversation about that. The next day, I see her, Dottie and Stu, and Stu was like, so what'd you think of dinner? Oh, okay, well, I know what he thought of dinner, right? I mean, clearly, just in that tone of voice, right, you can tell a lot. And what was the other thing they asked? Oh, yeah, yes. And of course, they've got the shows every night. So like the next day, they're like, so what'd you think of the show? Again, so every single time, Dottie and Stu, they told me what they thought. What was interesting is I saw the same cellist. I had the same dinner. Well, maybe they had a different entree. And I saw the same show, and I liked them all. like that was my perception, was these are really great. Their perception was very different. We saw the exact same thing, right? But there it was in the eye or in the ear or in the taste of the beholder. So that was really, really something that was extremely present in my mind on this cruise. The other thing that came to me then is, what about not just beauty? What about happiness? These people, Dottie and Stu, as you might imagine, weren't particularly happy people, right? I mean, how can you dislike that many things? I mean, are you really happy? They could play happy. But so what I realized is beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but happiness is in the heart of the beholder, right? Joy is in the soul of the beholder. We can go down. Abundance is in the thoughts of the beholder, right? We can just take substituting the words and realize it really is what we make of it, each one of us. And if we pay too much attention, if we buy into the things that we're told, then we may not experience things the way we want to. So, for instance, has anyone been on a cruise? Have you been on a cruise? So as you know, you might know, when you're on a cruise, you can buy these excursions. So you stop near Rome, maybe 90 minutes away from Rome on the coast, but you can only get there if you pay an extra amount of dollars and you go into Rome. So what you do is you buy these excursions to go see the ruins of Pompeii. And when you go to them, they they file you through these things. It's like going to Disney World, and they file you through the gift shop on the way in or the way out. They make you stop into a leather shop and look at leather handbags. And this one might be, what do we see? Blown glass. And another place that they made those ivory things, those brooches, I forget what they're called now. Anyway, so they send us through, but everything is how they want you to see it, right? So it's hard to discover on your own, to experience on your own, when you're being told what to think or what to believe, right? And we see that a lot of times in churches too, don't we? We're being told what to think and what to believe. That's what's so wonderful about us here at Unity, is you can have your own version. You can have your own version of God. You can have your own version of your spiritual walk. That it's up to you. That's what certainly made me feel at home when I stepped foot into my first Unity church. So one of the places that I went to was Monaco, was Monte Carlo. So if you know anything about Monte Carlo, it's the place that has the casino, and all the wealthy of Europe are there, right? So Monte Carlo is a city country, sort of like Singapore. It's its own city, and it's its own country as well. It's smaller than Central Park in New York City, the entire city / country of Monte Carlo / Monaco. And it is the second wealthiest country by capita in the world. So apparently, this is what I'm told, by the way, and this is what you can read. This is the wealthiest place. So I go into Monaco, and the cruise ship has stopped. I look over and I see just tons and tons of buildings and high rises and apartment buildings. I lived in New York City for 20 years. I've seen my fair share of high rises, right? I don't necessarily equate that with beauty or wealth necessarily. I saw the casino. It was beautiful. I saw the palace up on the hill. And I walked around the city, and I kept on thinking, if this is the wealthiest city in the world, why don't I see it? Why don't I feel it? I personally did not have the experience of, this is really rich around here. This is really wealthy. I saw lots of buildings. I saw people walk, lots of tourists, but it wasn't my experience that this was a wealthy place. And I really got to thinking, again, what is my experience as opposed to what I'm being told, right? And again, I went back to, if I can not pay quite so much attention to what I'm being told to think about something, I might actually experience it more deeply myself. So that was my takeaway from Monaco. The other thing that we talked about, beauty in the eye of the beholder, happiness in the heart, but also separation is in the mind of the beholder. Can you take me to this next slide? There we go. These are my feet. Oh, you can't really see, but this is my left foot and this is my right foot. Pay no attention to my lizard-looking sandals, okay? But I am standing on a sidewalk at the very edge of the country of Monaco, and right next to it is the country of France. Literally, if you can see here, I am straddling two countries at once right now in this picture. I am in France. My left foot's in France. My right foot's in Monaco. All right. So there's no sign. Thank you. We can take that down. We're enough looking at my lizard feet there. They look like lizard skin, don't they? These sandals, they don't look like that in person. So there's no sign that says this is France and this is Monaco. I knew because I looked on my phone, I looked on my app, and I had sought out, I wanted to find the place where I could stand in both countries at once. And in Europe, the countries, most of them, many things in the European Union, are sort of like the US. You can stand on four corners in standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, got 20 women on my mind. You remember that song? And you're like standing in four states at once. Well, you can do that in Europe too. You can stand because it's all one European Union. So I found this on my app, on the Google Maps. I said, I want to go and find this. And I thought there would be signs. There's no sign. You're just on one side of the street or on the other side of the street. There's the Marriott is over here in France, and then there's some other building in here in Monaco, and you can straddle along. So again, I realized that separation, the only way I knew I was in two separate places is because someone told me. The tree that's growing right there on the sidewalk, the leaves are hanging over into both countries, right? The air that I'm breathing, the sounds that I'm hearing are in both countries. They're not separate. The separation is only in my mind because I was told it was so on my phone in my pocket. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh yeah, if you stand right here, you'll have one. And of course, in this particular picture, the sidewalk actually was a different color. It's like, so you ever do that when you're driving along and you change counties, and it's like this road is no longer maintained by, Blair's County or something like that, and the highway changes. Well, that was sort of the same way here. The sidewalk was a little different, but there was no way of knowing unless I was told. There was no way of knowing separation. Unity principle number one says what? God is all there is, right? God is all there is. There's one power and one presence, not two separated by a border, right? And unity principle number two, it says our very essence is of God. Our very essence is of God. We are the same substance. We are not one here and one there, right? And so we are both the flame and the fire, right? We are the drop of water, but also the glass of water. We are inseparable. There are no two separate things. Do you remember a song from the 1990s? Yeah. From a Distance by Bette Midler. From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the sea, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the voice of hope. It's the voice of peace. It's the voice of every man. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Remember that beautiful song? Yeah, as beautiful as that song is, and I love it, so many great sentiments there. But one thing we might want to be careful of is it from a distance? The very hook of the song, right? Right, exactly. So I think what we can take from that song is really the intent is when you stand back and look at things, we're not just separating ourselves from ourselves. We're just like, let me take a look at this from this better picture. You've been told that a million times, at least I have, right? You're too hyper focused and you only see it this thing and you step back. That's the theme of the song. From a distance, but it's not saying necessarily that God is from a distance, because God is inside of us and we are inside of God. We all got that part, right? But I wanted to bring together that song because it reminded me right away that we are one with God and there is no distance, right? Even when I'm stepping on one side of the sidewalk or the other. The other thing when we are considering ourselves as one with another, one with God, when we change our idea of separation, there's a veil between us. There's this curtain between us that we can eradicate, we can get rid of, we can lift. Daniel Nahmod wrote a song called Raising the Veil, in which he illuminates that there is no separation between him and God, whatever your conception of God is. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. I want to know you. God, I'm raising the veil. I want to see you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to hear you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to feel you. Oh God, we're raising the veil. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. I'm raising the veil. I'm raising the veil. And now, if you'll join with me in the quiet mind, in the soul of stillness, and we can begin with a few deep breaths at your own pace. We allow the peace to wash over us, to spread over us, covering us and blanketing us. Any thoughts we have in mind, just allowing the peace to cover them. Imagine a warm, soothing lava of peace oozing around you, enveloping you, and you become buoyant, and it lifts you up. Right out of your feet. Right out of your physical state. And you float with it, and it carries you up and away toward its source of light, of love, of peace. And you breathe in deeply, and we smile as we exhale. We recognize this place, this long familiar home that always welcomes us and always comforts us and feeds us and recharges us. In this place of peaceful stillness, we have the most direct access to the all that is. It's in this place and from this place that we connect with God. And we create and we manifest our life, and we manifest our desired conditions. And most importantly, we align with the divine, with what's brought to us and shown to us. We align with it just as it is. We raise the veil of any perceived separation, and we breathe in this awesomeness. Here in this peace, here in this stillness, we listen, we create, we align in the sacred silence. And we know that we can and will return to this place again and again whenever we choose. It's always here and always welcoming, always available with its never-ending supply of peaceful stillness and its creative source. And as we slowly return to physical consciousness, we don't turn and separate from God, because God stays with us. The peacefulness stays with us because it has infused us. We've absorbed it into our skin, our minds, our bodies, our emotions, and our thoughts. And we float back into this world consciousness with an even clearer connection to the goodness, the order, the divinity. And it makes our day so much easier. It makes our conversation so much more loving. It makes our thoughts more wholesome and more tolerant. It makes our actions more authentic and unselfish. And as we open our eyes and return to this physical space and consciousness, we're transformed. We beam with joy. We relax in peace. We speak with mindfulness. And we interact with loving kindness. It is so. It is so. It is so.